Before I introduce my guest in front of me, I got to preempt this episode. Prior to this, we were partaking of Ava. We had some protocol and how we do culturally. Protocol with some oli and we shared in Ava. So the reason why I'm preempting it is because the Ava was strong this morning. And so we'll get right into that. So we're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff now. So I am humbled. I'm privileged. Not only is he a kahu of Uhi, but he is my dear friend, and we've known each other since malo and long hair days, dancing and entertaining. But I'd like to welcome to the show Culturised Kahu Kelii Makua. How are you, brother?
Hello, bro.
First of all, mahalo to the boys from bringing the Ava and getting us ready for this.
All right.
It's gonna go that way.
It's the best way to start a day.
So mahalo for being here, first of all, and taking time, because we know you guys drove all the way out from the west side, Makaha. So mahalo for that.
Absolutely. Okay, so I had to make sure I brought something besides the Ava as a gift. Is
aku, mahalo. So again, another cultural aspect, another tradition that tell us a little bit about hokupu and going to people's homes or anywhere and why.
You don't go empty-handed, ever.
Nice.
And if somebody comes, you make sure you have something for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely custom to give, even if you don't have, you give. When you're coming and going, and that's just how we were raised, like that.
It's just like that, yeah. Never go to anyone's home, especially a kupuna. So mahalo for this. You folks made this.
No, actually, my wife, Sunny, got that. And
Nice.
she's like, make sure. I was like, okay. So I had something else in mind. And she had that, and it's like, oh, that's perfect.
I love this. Mahalo. Grew up on the west side, Makaha.
You know,
Well, you're worldly, I should say.
yeah, definitely worldly. So my dad is from Denver.
Mm-hmm.
We are German, English from my dad's side.
Wow.
My mom is Hawaiian, Pia Hawaii, from Hawaii Island. We're from South Kona. Mom and dad met in the 60s. Boom, had us, sister, brother, then myself. All of my school, everything. From Denver, bro. I serious.
Denver.
Went to school in Denver.
Wow.
After I Pau High School, I came home.
Wow.
So the family was like, what are you going to do? I was like, I want to go home. I'm done.
I like
I'm
it.
good.
I like it.
And part of that was a lot of the things that I was doing in Denver. I had some bad health and whatnot, and I just wasn't up for the cold anymore.
And I think that's a good thing, because you went out into the world and you learned and you did things, and then you come back home, which is always, we can always ho'i, right, to come back home.
Yeah.
So I also want to ho'oku you as well. And, you know, with the CDC and whatever's going on in the world today, and this is difficult.
I got you,
as a Kanaka, right? It's difficult, right? I call this aloha Tourette's, right? Because nowadays, because the whole vid thing, everybody does this when they greet each other.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
It's like, oh, no, cannot. Yeah, can't.
I'll
yeah,
give the
cannot.
elbow bump.
So this is because people are watching. CDC says we will give it to you that way.
Mahalo, brother.
Mahalo.
And I will place this.
No, leave.
leave off.
That lei hulu you have on, you can leave them right there. That lei hulu.
Oh, this lei hulu was a gift. I had to wear this.
Yeah.
Hulali Delima made it for me.
Wow.
And she's amazing. She's a kumuhula, or she's a mehula, right? She's a teacher, KS Maui, just storied with things that her family does.
And for someone, if you see someone with a lehulu, you automatically know they're of some, status, and I love that. I was taught once that if you ever have a lehulu, and it was funny the way I was taught, because I got scolding. I had a lehulu on, and somebody had given me a lei, so I put that lei on, and what are you doing?
You cannot cover.
Yeah, lehulu is one of those that should not be accompanied by any other lei. That's what I was taught. So mahalo for that. So you just put that on, because I would feel guilty. Now, school in Denver, came back home. Even while you're living on the continent, was culture in the home?
Absolutely. I didn't realize that I wasn't white,
right,
until about 11,
Wow.
12 years old.
Wow.
When I looked at my dad's family, because majority of them, blue-eyed, blonde hair, beautiful family, very large. My dad is one of, he's number 8 out of 10. And so I got plenty cousins on that side, but majority of them are very fair. And then family pictures, then they get us guys that's not quite as fair. I'm not going to say I'm a darky.
You already knew.
But I'm, first generation half-breed on my mom's side.
You were khaki, I call it.
Yeah, different, slightly,
right?
Just a little bit. But one of the things I remember, because my dad used to talk pidgin, and so my schoolboys would come over after. The boys would come over, and we're doing stuff, and then these dad's telling me, "Hey, hurry up, bro, go and almost time for and
I love that.
He's talking about wiki cow, almost pow, you gotta go." And I'm like, Dad, you gotta stop talking like that because my friends think we crazy.
No matter where you are in the world or grew up, culture is always with you. That's what we do on Culturised. Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHIGHTHING. Aloha Termite and Pest Control, your local and leading pest and termite control solution in the state. Always providing you superior service with Aloha. So I see, knowing Dad, I love it because he's such a local man. Right, so he's as local and Hawaiian as he can be. So even growing up in the continent, so there was cultural aspects in the home. Was there this desire that you wanted to return home, that you because you didn't feel right there?
I didn't fit. I knew I didn't fit.
Were you growing up and the culture? What aspects of even Dad's side that were instilled in you that
work ethics?
Work ethics. Yeah.
You don't stop till it's finished. Mom's side, once the sun starts setting, it's pau hana, no working. Pop don't stop.
I said I look at it that because you have both Makua, both your parents are very alpha, right? Yeah. Right. So, your mom she's that quiet Hawaiian lady that speaks in silence, right? Who was growing up? Who was the one that would? Pop. Oh yeah.
Pop.
He set down the rules.
Everything. Set down the rules. Hey, you love your mom. You respect your mom. You listen to what she says. You don't badmouth her. Nothing. And then he says, and then when you grow up and you have a girlfriend or even eventually a wife, you treat them as if they were your mom. You do everything in your ability to take care of that person. He says, eventually that's going to be somebody's mom. And do you want to see your mom being treated poorly? No. Wow. So that's how you treat a woman.
That's intense. What was it like living on the continent, knowing you didn't feel a part of it, but you had a huge ohana. Your family was huge. What was that like? Well, I mean, you just did it because that was what you were doing, or you just always had this desire? I need to go back home. What was it like living?
It was the need.
Yeah.
I mean, Pop had all kinds. He knew Sonny's Chili's word. He knew Don Ho. Mom danced for Don Ho. Just all kind, just records. And so we was always playing these old records, right? And then in Denver had the I think it's Pete Ilani Hawaiian Civic Club. So we weren't a part of them, but we did things with them. My dad can make kalua pig back those days, like hammer. So in Hawaii, he used to do the fireman's and the policeman's ball. He did the imu. And everyone's like, how's this holiday? Get away from the imu. Right. He jumped in with Officer Panoki, Herbert Panoki folks, and taught him all that kind of stuff. So Papa's hammer.
He is. I love that, man. When you came back home, culturally, of course you felt comfortable. What's one of the Namea Hawaii? What's one of the first things that you pili to, that you attached to? Was it hula? Was it uhi? Was it or was it everything? You just
everything. Yeah. The sea. The sea. Absolutely missed that. And being in the water was tranquil for me. Wow. It didn't matter if I'm deep blue. Thing I didn't like was fresh water.
Wow.
I was scared of fresh water.
Why is that?
You take me to the Muliwai and it's dark. I look inside like, ooh, because I know stories.
You don't know what's...
Mo'olelo
that's what
ohana.
I'm saying. Yeah.
And mo'os reside and are the
Yes.
caretakers of that fresh water. So I'm just like,
So
our family.
okay, now I don't feel too bad because every time I go to East Maui or Hana
Right.
and I jump into a freshwater pond, because it's if you've ever jumped into a freshwater pond and you look down and open your eyes, it's just black. It's you don't know. Somebody's gonna grab your leg, pull you down. You don't know those things. So that's interesting. Fresh water.
Fresh water scared me.
Ocean water is your
Yeah.
thing. Now Namea Hawaii, you're versed in a lot. Hula. When did hula start for you?
Early when I came, started with Kaulana Kasparovich.
Wow.
Yeah. So my tutu's...
That's a heavy hitter right there.
Yeah, my tutu's younger cousin, Tutu Malia Craver, we call her Tutu Hau'oli or Auntie Hau'oli. That was a family name for her that I would go and meet with her often. And then we sit with some other kupuna and kupuna from the Ihau, and they would just kuka. And so she introduced me, so I started dancing with Kaulana.
So hula was more of a choice, or was it nice?
It was a choice because I knew our family. So when I was in the 5th grade, I did a report, a project was on our genealogy and whatnot. So I could whip out 8 or 9 generations of our mo'okua. Wow. And I didn't have depth on these people though. So when I came home, I started studying about who these people were. And it was through the family said, hey, you need to learn certain things. Learn to walk like a Hawaiian. So I started, okay, go dance hula.
We're talking Namea Hawaii culture through the eyes of Kelii Makua. So early, if you joined us, we preempted our show with some pule and some ceremony. Before we do this part, really quick, can you explain just pule to us? A lot of people hear the word pule, prayer. Sometimes people they think it's religious. As a Kanaka, as a Hawaiian, pule to us is, if you can explain in your mana'o.
It's absolutely prayer, but it's a connection to something that's greater than us. And so it can be an incantation. It can be invoking, asking something to come or somebody to come. It's so many different things. It's hard just to say, oh, it's just a prayer.
Right.
Because we're paying respects to somebody and something greater than us. So it's every part of our life.
I like that. So earlier we talked also about your lehulu that represents, when you have a lehulu, you are of a status, you're somebody important. But even that, when you're really important, when you have people behind you. when you have a ohana and a team and really quick, you guys see them standing next to us. Introduce these brothers to us.
To my left is Kamea Kohoia Kuaiva. Honored to have him sit, and he's a cousin of mine. Interesting, I didn't know him growing up. Met him afterwards, met him when he was in high school, and he's a great young man. And to his left is Kai Olohia Kelii Pakawa. And he's a definite cousin, like closer cousin, second cousin for me from South Kona. And we have several lines that all of us, we overlap with. Hawaii Maui is our lines. And I'm honored to have these men sit with me.
And mahalo, boys, for being here. They obviously they prepared the ava this morning, and I think, is that what we're doing right now? See, it's just the funny thing. They stand on the side and they're like, they have this
just smile, yeah. This mino aka is just like
they have this skill, and they know when our ava meter is going down, and so kilo is just these observation skills, and that's. Before I do, can you explain? Okay, so usually before we partake of ava, finger, bump. What is that for?
So the cool thing that in Polynesia, when we have an agreement, a contract, if you will. Or just honoring through prayer our ancestors, we would have ava. Ava is like easy as a ho'okupu offering to any akua. We would, if you have the cup, you have the mic. The floor is yours. If you had something to say, you say it. When you're done, you always spin it because it settles. You would give a flick back or even pour back to the papa honua, to the ground, the aina that we come from. And then over your shoulder, right and left side for your ancestors that walk with you.
Mahalo
And then you down it in one.
Down it in one.
One gulp or one, you know.
It got all deep and there's like just down it in one.
And then you give them, brother. Okay. So oftentimes in a definite formal setting, somebody would yell out, Pai Kalima. So it's a double clap. And that is after because now this is part of Pule, this is part of prayer, because this is the blood, or not the blood, but the water of Kane, our God of life. And so we would give prayer and then we would drink it. And so that is the pane, sending it, sending that prayer. Then that's definite in that sense.
And there's depending where you're from, there's also different protocols and different styles of how they drink and how they do it. So earlier, when we prepared the ava, you folks did an oli,
Yes.
right? Is that a standard? It's specific to you?
Through our kumu, that I'm so honored to be a part of, and have in my life from when I was young, out of high school young, Keone Nunes. And he taught us different things about having ava and partaking in ava. And different areas do different things. Different families do different things. Likewise, in saying that, we weren't generalized. Nothing was standardized. It's because of the family or the area that you're from. Tendencies might be slightly different. But generally, it was, you had something to say, you say them.
Yeah, before you knew that. Again, thank you for joining us right here on Culturised, the podcast. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Head up our website, culturised.com. We are sitting with Kelii Makua, and we are partaking of ava, talking ava, Hawaiian culture through the eyes of them. I learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, and your manao as well, I was always taught in the healing world that for Hawaiians, we never drank ava for recreational purposes. It was always a purpose and ceremony, and because we know a lot of the South Pacific do that. Is that correct for you folks? Because when you do work, it's always, and that all of that. Some people don't realize that doing work that's a ceremonial thing.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely. So we see people. I'm not going to point finger at anybody or any specific culture. We see them using 5-gallon bucket nowadays.
Yeah.
Soup ladle, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're consuming. If I was taught by our kumu, if you remove the ava and use alcohol or vice versa, it's an abuse.
Wow.
So you're losing the sanctity of what it was about. If this is tied to prayer, how are you going to abuse it consistently? So if we're working on something, we'll have it because it helps us focus. There's so many healing properties of this plant, so it's used in so many different ways. But just to sit and conk them back, and,
Right.
that's not real.
I like it.
That's not real. Okay, my brother. This did set up a little bit, so I will give it a mix. And this is about 12 ounces full right here.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a big one. And
when the apu or the bowl, when the big one comes out, sometimes you don't want to even look at the boys. You're just like, no, don't do it.
It's not mine. Oh, it is mine. Okay. So, brother.
Mahalo. Oh. That's the one.
Eola.
So mahalo, brothers. They're gonna go and say, we'll wait another 2 minutes.
Really, there's so much that we could talk on that.
Yeah, and we will. And what I do want to get into is I love, because I like to call you a walking encyclopedia of Namea Hawaii. We talked ava, we talked how you grew up. Uhi. First of all, just namu haole. What is uhi in English?
Uhi is literally a covering, or even a shade being darkened. So what you see on the body is what remains after the tatau or cacao process. And that's not a tatau. Tatau is a verb. It's the action of doing.
Action,
so this is uhi. So we have old terms, cacao moli, cacao ili, cacao uhi, all qualifying terms for what we do. It's not just a tattoo.
What was it that just inspired you, and you're like, wow, I think this is what I want to do? How old were you, and when was that?
You're gonna laugh. I never wanted to do it. I wanted to get marked, and my family said, no, you need to learn, and they gave me a laundry list of things to learn. So the idea was, if I'm marked as Kanaka and representing the family, I need to be knowledgeable in these things. So that was my journey.
It's funny, we laugh, but we know from a cultural standpoint that's usually it. It's like we never want to do things. You're chosen, and it's not our choice. If you want to see the extended version, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about uhi and cacao and Kelii Makua, Culturised.com, YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We are talking Namea Hawaii, the culture, through the eyes of Kelii Makua, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into cacao and tattoo and what you think you may know, and we're going to do that right here on Culturised. So if you're joining us right here, Culturised, the podcast on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, comment down below. We're talking story with my very, very dear friend, Kahu of Uhi. And the name of the... Now, before we get into how you started, the name of your pa and where your group, your hui.
Named my pa after my 6th generation grandfather. Wow. Was the last tattooist of our family. Wow. Things were changing. He was born 1800, like a turn century 1800. And the idea was Christianity came in 1820. So with that, changing of times. So his son was taught, but did not keep going with that. His name was Huno Holani. Wow. And that Huno speaks of a relationship to Holani. At birth, he was gifted over in the practice of kane, priesthood, and was taught several things of that. So my teacher is wonderful, gave me so many life lessons over decades, 26 years as a student. He said, it's time for you to go. Wow. And I resisted. I dug my heels in. I'm not going anywhere. You're the boss. You're always going to be the boss. Right. You're the master that rewoke in this practice, and I'm good at sitting at your feet forever. And I'll just help you train the young boys. And he's like, no, you got to go. And so being out on my own, he gave me the titled me as a ka'uhi, which is a title of somebody who does the tattooing. And so with that, I had to come up with my own name for my halau or my pa. So I took a family name.
And it was a right fit. It was almost as though you couldn't even create one.
I couldn't. I couldn't. I had brain freeze. I was like, It's like nobody.
Did it just come to you? Like it just made sense?
Yeah.
He's the last one.
Yeah.
It's got to be Huno Holani. So now you have your own pa. Let's now go back to, you didn't want to do tattoos. You didn't.
I just wanted to be marked.
Right.
But he was my kumuhula. And he had had several informants that gave him information and knowledge of this practice. Looking around, it's like, wow, he only gets shops. And they're trying to copy and make up, and they give a good spiel, and everybody likes what they got to say, and they go that way, and it's false. Some patterns don't belong with other patterns. The placements are wrong, just all kinds of things.
So is it fair to say, at that time, it was just more aesthetic back then?
It was aesthetic. And for me, I just wanted to have something to represent our family. And I knew what our family was about because I'd been studying it, forever. And the more I studied, the more I knew I didn't know.
Wow.
And it was crazy.
That's intense. The more I studied, the more I didn't know. I like that. So when you started getting into, what's one of the first things that you remember when it came to uhi? One of the first lessons, what was it?
Reverence.
Wow. So it wasn't just, I'm going to go look at a design or a mark or something like that. There was a lot of research. What was...
So how's this? I fell into this because my kumu was my hula teacher, and he said, "Hey, what you gonna do after practice?" "Oh, nothing. What you need? You like help me?" I said,
Wow.
"Of course." He said, "Bring a change of clothes." Okay, after practice, freshen up, right? Clean up, and I go with him. And at that time, we would go to your house or an individual's house and do work at their house for them. And I listened to his ha'iolelo, his talk with these folks. And then they talked about genealogy. They talked about different aspects of their genealogy, strengths, weaknesses, whatnot. And then he had a pattern on a paper, and oftentimes it would be a quick sketch, whatnot. So that was my involvement. That's how I got in. I didn't seek to get in. I was just there.
You were just there.
I was there.
Again, very cultural, right? Kumu says, "Come, just hang out with me.
Yeah,
Come sit."
Head down, okay.
Because he knew your kilo skills, and there was going to be a moment that you were like, maybe I got to do this. Was there that moment?
I don't know, honestly. But I was an opihi.
Yeah.
So my mom's brother, folks, I was an opihi. Tutu, Hau'oli Malia Craver, I was an opihi. I just was always stuck on their side, and just they needed help. I was there. I wanted to hear the stories.
Going in.
Just eat. I tried to be everywhere, and that spread me thin. So at a certain point, I had to draw back and just focus on certain things. And so I knew our family came from lua masters and hula masters, and we have a fat warring line or lines from Hawaii Island and Maui. So I'm like, I got to do hula. Hula was the form work for the Hawaiian martial arts. I got to do it. And I already studied martial arts. And I've been studying, so I'm like, I gotta do it. He gave me a pattern that hadn't been done for maybe 150 years. And his reasoning was because tattooing was outlawed, but we didn't have wars anymore. So there was no sense in using a pattern that spoke of war. And so the interesting thing with that was I was so honored because I was kind of this guy that was young, and I was just, you want to go? Okay, let's go. And, whatever. And it was just that idea that I'm wearing something that my ancestors might have had. And I want to say they did, you know what I mean? And so that was just huge. And so that intrigued me more to study more.
Everything just kind of lined up. So it's not just, oh yeah, here, let me go see what this pattern means, and I'm just gonna go put it on you. What's and it's a long process, but if you can kind of explain that process all the way up to, because it's not just marking somebody. There's so many different aspects from only what I understand, but even genealogy, understanding mo'oku auhau, understanding genealogy, that comes with, what other things come with, you have to, outside of just tattooing, what you have to know as a kahu in uhi. One is genealogy, because I think I can sit with you and listen to you speak of mo'oku auhau all day. Like your brain is amazing to me. Was that difficult for you to research?
Research is difficult.
Yeah.
Because I'm not computer literate.
Right.
Going through school, I graduated back in the 80s. And so computers wasn't a thing.
Books.
And I never went to school afterwards. After high school, I entered into the job force. I figured, okay, I'll join the service, and then I can use that bill to go to school, because I wasn't rich. I couldn't afford. I didn't know about grants and all of these different things. But I had cancer in the 9th grade, and that followed into all through high school. And so I missed a lot of school. My grades were terrible. My GPA was bad. It wasn't sexy. I was like honor roll all the way, 3.0 all the way through up until I got cancer.
Wow.
And then
Wait,
it just
you were
nosedived.
ninth grade?
Ninth grade.
When you had it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was just changed everything. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to go military. And then when I talked to the guy, he saw the scars on my forehead, he saw the scar on my neck. And he's like, what is that? I go, I had an operation. He goes, well, what happened? I go, well, I had cancer. Oh, what happened? Took out half my lung and 3 ribs. Oh, wow, what else happened? Well, my back came crooked. So they took bone out of my hip and fused C7, T1, 2, and 3. And I still got a little bit issued, but, I'm good. And then he's like, you can't go to the service. Nobody will take you. And I was like,
wow.
Okay, never mind then.
Wow.
I'm working.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, see, what's amazing though is it's not a lot of people know that about you, but you've had this kind and your body has changed, but yet you went into the craziest work world.
Craziest work.
Like iron. You're like on buildings. You built half
a
the
lot of
buildings.
these high rises out here.
You built.
I made them. I became an iron worker, and I don't know how that happened. I saw somebody said, "Hey, they're hiring. The union's hiring." Okay, I went down, applied. I applied for Hawaiian Electric. Wow. Year and a half waiting list. I needed money because I moved home by myself.
But the same time, so now you're recovering from cancer. You don't make it to the military. You go into the craziest job force as an iron worker. And the toll physically on you is amazing because you did it. But at the same time, you're studying uhi.
I study.
Wow.
I never had personal life. After work, it's just you study.
Because add to that, now you and I, we used to dance shows.
Right. And you remember we grew our hair long when it was not a thing to have long hair and dance hula.
We were, I think back to our days and hopefully nobody remembers, but long hair, malo, very ku'e.
Front flap, malo only,
no
back flap, or else no flap at all, pu'ali style.
Oh, what right? Were we thinking back then? But we're going to have to bring back malo Mondays. We'll start with the boys. So you were doing all this and studying uhi. So about how many years did it take from when Kumu first said, I want you to go change your clothes, come with me, sit down, to having Kumu say, I think you're ready? I think, well, not I think, he said he knows that he's going to give you this title. How many years?
I was graduated after 26 years of a student.
Wow. 26. Yeah. And that amazing because you're going into this, I'll say for lack of a better word, profession, 26 years of studying. And it's funny because sometimes, not to down doctors, but doctors go to school for like 10 years. They cut you open.
I'm still learning, bro.
26. I'm
still learning.
I love 26 years, still learning, but you have the title. What did that feel like to
intimidating.
Yeah.
Intimidating.
Your first solo by yourself pakahi tattoo. Do you remember how old? Or what it was?
Let's see. So we started out with machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was really apparent that we needed to switch to traditional tools. We knew about them. We knew how they were held and whatnot, but we didn't know how to make them and use them. So in 96, I went to Apia, Western Samoa, with Keone for the Pacific Arts Festival. We met Patelo Suluape. And he is the head of the Suluape family in Samoa, but the older brother, Paulo, was the head of the whole family clan. Paulo became Keone's teacher in teaching this. And so Keone had a few years under his tutelage before he had passed.
And Suluape is a Samoan word. Is that equivalent to a kahu of uhi?
It's a family name.
Oh, okay. Because a lot of people I'm glad we talked about because some people throw that word around Suluape and they just think, automatically you're a tattoo person.
Oh, okay.
And I hear some people are like, no, that's a family name. So it is a family name.
It's a family name.
Wow. So you guys learned. So there's Suluape and then Keone, and then passing down to you as a kahu. Intense.
So we were taught from Paulo's toolmaker.
Wow.
Tamati came from New Zealand because Paulo had moved to New Zealand. Tamati came he stayed for a period of time, taught us how to make tools. 2004 is when we all started actually using the tools. 2004.
Were the tools, because I see your tools now, and I watch the boys make. It's in one, I look at it, it's an art form. Is it that meticulous, or we're Hawaiians just overachievers, and we were like, no, we're gonna take this, and we're gonna make this thing beautiful. We're gonna make it sexy. We're gonna make it, because I look at your tools, and it's like it's museum pieces. How much? Not a lot of people realize that all these tools are handmade. By
everything.
You. Wow.
Handmade. The idea was what we were shown and what the Samoans were using at that time was beautiful, but certain aspects wasn't real to me.
Right.
From if you're looking from a native eye. So with that, I said, okay. I was asking Keone, what did they do to skip this one step that the Samoans was doing that they taught us? Because we didn't have nails. I'm not going to use a nail in my tool.
Right.
And, so little by little, we talking about things. And he studied. He's gone to college. But he grew up in a time frame where he was around, there's ample kupuna at that time. And so he's, a lot of ike was shared just in everyday life. So we would talk about different things. And then he said, try this. And I try it. And it worked. And little by little, I changed what the tool actually we were shown to what we actually use now. And I want to say, and Kumu even said it, this is more like what our tools look like. And the way I lashed down the tool, the lashing was more up on the top. And that lashing is, you could equate that to a hale, to a house, or even on the va'a. But if we're striking over here, that wood's going to fray and bust up. I brought the lashing down.
Wow.
Everybody does that nowadays. Like not only in Hawaii, but outside of Hawaii also. Because we have social media, people can see pictures and everybody copies.
When it comes to, that's why I'm very intrigued, because not only are you just having to put a mark on somebody, you have to be versed in mo'oku'auhau genealogy. You have to be versed in making tools. You have to be versed in understanding just a lot of Namea Hawaii, even down to ava. When it comes to designs, correct me if I'm wrong. The person receiving it, they don't usually pick it, right? I cannot come to you and be like, yeah, I like some triangles and this and that. You can do that. It doesn't work like that, right?
It's not real.
How does that process work? If I seek you out, first of all, I know we had a conversation before about there's the steps, there's protocols to approaching you, right? And can I just say that, sometimes the worst thing to do is if somebody calls me and says, hey, the guy, the one Makua, he does tattoos, or you can call in for me. Right? That's not how you do it, right?
My kids get that.
You see, your kids get.
Hey, you can talk to your dad.
You can talk to your dad.
They're like, no.
The proper way is just coming to see you.
Just come.
With a whole kupu. And so how does that work if somebody comes to sit down with you and say, I want a tattoo?
Reach out. Text. So my IG, Kelii _Makua, has inside the, whatever it says about what I am or whoever, it says no DMs. People DM me on a regular. I'm like,
you should change it and put DM me.
I got email. I got my cell phone. I got the text message for the cell. I got Facebook that I haven't been on in
You know what you got to put? Just change it. Put I grew up in the 80s. Reach me.
Just reach out, and so it's hard.
So it's not, so if I saw you on a Monday and I call you Monday morning, it's not like I'm going to show up Tuesday and just get something, right?
No, not at all.
What's that process?
So to be honest, watching Kumu, he would ho'ole so many people.
Wow.
So ho'ole is to refuse people, and imagine you watch football before days, right?
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy. Yeah. The guy's carrying the ball and he's always stiff arming somebody. And he would stiff people right and left because he would say they're not ready. Wow. So in that thought of are they ready or are they not ready? Do they come respectfully? Are they humble? How do they ask? What is the reason behind being marked? Okay, so being marked, we call that ho'omana. They're going to instill mana in this individual in this archaic fashion that was done with a right and a left hand because we're recognizing a birthing process. Do they understand that? Do they got all kinds of work from machines? Right. And that's why we switched out from machine. Yeah. And is it all over any kind of places? Because Kumu would say the first work needs to be foundational. And that's because nowadays we're removed from our ancestral wisdom and tendencies. So we have to go back and put foundation. So we walk with foundation and then we grow upon that. So if somebody, and this has happened, a guy that was an awesome, and you know the guy, awesome dancer, handsome, whatever, he went on vacation a few times. 3 strikes, right? And then that vacation time. And brother called me, he said, Brian, like you blast my face. And I'm like, whoa, how does that mean? Blast?
Right.
I study martial arts, bro. I'm going to look and see if I can get the angle, and I'm going to crank them. You know what I mean? Or that's what's in my head. And it's just the vernacular. And that's a new word I've been using in this last month, vernacular.
The vernacular.
Yeah, and my boys are laughing at me over here.
It's always right. It's always good when the young guys say, "Oh, these old guys, they know some big words."
So it's it's this idea: do they come prepared? Right. And most people don't. Yeah. So in the beginning, people really didn't have any understanding, and so Kuma would just hold on forever in a life. Nowadays, it's a little bit faster, and we've had people like, so if I know you and I know you and your background and what you're about, you walk a really nice straight line. You know, you're not dibble-dabbling in chemicals, right. and you're not got a million kids strung out everywhere that you don't take care of. You take care of your responsibilities. That's outstanding. So that person would step forward first before somebody that doesn't know their genealogy, doesn't know where their family's even from. Oftentimes the genealogy is tied to the Aina.
Is there times when, you're only somebody, but is there times where you actually tell somebody, listen, you're not ready and I want you to research. I want you to do this. Absolutely. But is there also people that you say, just, no?
Definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
Wow.
And it's just like, wow, this guy is so abrasive and he doesn't even know he's abrasive. He needs help.
Wow.
And so sometimes we'll, out of, I don't know if it's that I feel bad for him, that I just want to sit and talk with him to try and give him a little bit insight, because sometimes people, they weren't raised up with the best of conditions. So, we need the help.
When somebody says, I like your tribal.
Oh, bro.
what is
spins my brain. Serious, that spins my brain. I'm like, tribal?
Right.
So my wife is from Maui. So we're in Maui, right? And this lady comes by. Oh, that's beautiful. She's talking about my eye. What tribe are you from? Oh, Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah, Kanaka. Wow. And she's like, what? Kanaka. Like, okay, I come from a time frame where Kanaka means Hawaiian, And so she's asking me, and this lady's looking at me like, oh, okay.
Because you hear all these words that come out about somebody sees, they'll see the boys, they'll see you, they'll see, and say, oh, those are nice tribal markings or tribal tattoos. What would you, for somebody that doesn't understand, what the easiest thing would it just be? Oh, these are uhi.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And then, hey, what does that mean? Oh, and Kumu would say, tell them what you want to tell them.
Wow.
But you don't have to tell nobody anything because it's yours. And you own it. It belongs to you. And but to be honest, we tell people exactly that. But you don't have to tell people. But just know, if you make a post on social media and you speak on it, people see, especially if they tag me or whatnot, people that follow me will often see what I'm doing, and then they'll go look, and I'm followed by a lot of tattooists, and they copy, even backyard tattoos.
I always there's a olelo no iao, and I can't think of the olelo Hawaii, but it says to the effect in English that don't dry out the bones of your ancestors.
Absolutely,
right? It basically meaning like with uhi, just don't talk about your markings to someone because you don't really know what their intention is of kind. So it's not just based off of genealogy, though.
No, it can be based off of the individual. So Kumu would speak on, it can be based off of a person's bloodline. It can be based off of the Aina, the land that the family was tied to. Because oftentimes Miloli'i, South Kona, like very South Kona, right on the border of Ka'u. If you've been there, there's hardly any fresh water. It's all a lava flow down. It's a fishing village. It's been a fishing village for centuries. If you come from there, you're in that industry. Sorry. You're not a mahiai.
Right.
You don't have lo'i. It's not real.
So if I'm walking through the mountains and I see somebody with an uhi that has something to do with the ocean, it's
Well, now they might be because they're looking to harvest something that they might need.
okay.
So mind you now, the strongest natural fiber was found in Hawaii, olona. And that's grown in the uplands.
Wow.
You know, so it might be that they are pili to that.
I see. I could sit forever and ever in a day with you and talk na mea Hawaii and dive in. I always love diving into your lolo, into your brain, into your no. If you're joining us, Culturised.com is the website. YouTube. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe channel. You want to know more about Uhi na mea Hawaii? Don't call me. You can comment. I'll get you in touch with him. Do it the right way. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo for being here. We'll bring the boys in one more time. Say mahalo to the boys. Kapa huno holani is the pa. Kelii Makua, kahu of Kauhi, tattooing and marks. Can we close this out?
Yes, absolutely.
We don't have to finish the whole bowl, do we, everybody?
Oh, it's going to be a little bit to do that, but
Okay.
still get some action.
All right. Whoa. So again, hit the subscribe button. Culturised.com is the website. We are going to wrap up this episode with Kelii Makua. Mahalo to the boys, Kamea and Kai, for taking time out. It's a long journey from Makaha, and as we did in the beginning, holy moly. Wow. So again, mahalo for joining us. This is Culturised, Kelii Makua, and mahalo for the ava, mahalo for the whole kupu. Thank you very much. Culturised.